Welcome back to our next episode of the Wealth Blueprint, Brick by Brick by the Sapphire Group.
Looks like we didn't get canceled yet.
Remember when we were going to call it, let's not get canceled?
Yeah.
So Marissa, let's get straight into it. April market stats just came out. Let's do a little bit of a deep dive in what it means for our current state.
Yeah, it looks like on my social media, at least, I feel like a lot of people are talking about how prices have gone up month over month, year over year. I mean, by a little bit, but it's still up, right? But I feel like people are neglecting the rest of the data that came out with it, which I think is more telling. So sales are actually at a 20-year low. When you just isolate April over the last 20 years, it's at an all-time low. I mean, except for 2020 April, but that was low for, obvious reasons. And also the month of inventory is like really high from the previous month, like 60 to 70% up, which is showing that there's not a lot of inventory getting absorbed. And obviously if there's lots of supply, less demand, usually, the prices go down. So obviously this has only been 1 month. So a trend doesn't come from 1 month, right? But, I think May is a very crucial month to see where we're headed, right? Depending on what happens in this following month.
Yeah, I was looking at the ORIA stats and they said that we had a decline of 1.6% from last year, April. And I think that's when we were just like, oh my gosh, interest rates are going up. We don't know what to do. The market is taking a tank for it. But some people that I've heard from are saying that this will be the worst year for the market, which we were anticipating like a hot spring market.
Yeah.
But being on the ground, I would say there's still multiple offers on ideal properties.
Yes.
Right? So I was in Kitchener, Cambridge last weekend and I was waiting for all the offer dates and one house had 13, 14. And then another house agent calls me and is like, are you going to put in an offer?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, the offer we're going to put is probably under what you're looking for. So there's no point. And he said, well, try me. And I'm like, okay. So I offered it and he was just like, yeah, no, we're not going to accept that. We'll just relist. And I was like, okay, but never got any offers at all.
Yeah.
So I think, when we're looking at market stats, I think it's important to look at it. But also looking at different pockets, because remember when we were looking in Oshawa and Whitby and we were getting outbid and we were like, what is going on? Yeah. So I think, yes, this is going to be a tough market, I think, because like you said, supply and demand, if there's so many more houses, that for me is okay, how many days on market? Okay, let me see what kind of discount I can get.
Yeah. Exactly. We've finished the month of April with 18,000 active listings and there was 7,000 sales, right? So if the active listings keep accumulating and the sales are kind of leveling off, then there's just going to be way too much supply, which we haven't really been used to for the last couple months. You're right. February was hot, 20 offers per property for the properties that were freehold entry level. But now some properties are getting multiple offers, but it's not as many. It's just, the 10 out of 10 properties, the really nice properties that are staged nice, priced well, they're getting a lot of offers and they're selling quickly. But if you have a house that needs renovations, it's kind of staying on the market for 30, 40 days.
You know why though, right?
Why?
Because when we were in February, that's when there was all this conversation about interest rates are going to go down. Yeah. Bank of Canada is thinking this. Bank of Canada. It's just media. We've had the exact same interest rates since November?
Yeah, maybe even before that. Yeah,
maybe it's held September. 6 times, right?
Yeah.
So if we've had the same interest rates all along, then why were people jumping in February? It's because of the media and the news and what people are talking about.
So yes, but I think it's also fixed rates were down at 1.2. I remember in December, fixed rates went down. Some people were getting 3-year fixed rates for 5%, which hasn't happened in a while. So people were taking advantage of it. And I think now it's higher than that. But yeah, I think a lot is what you said, buyer sentiment, thinking of what's going to happen. They don't want, and they get FOMO. They don't want prices to go up and then they lose out. So they're like, let me jump in now because that's what the media is saying. But yeah, I think that's kind of deflated now with inflation going up again. And everyone's like, okay, is Bank of Canada actually going to lower interest rates in June? Because that's what everybody's saying. June 5th, there's going to be a rate cut for sure. And now it seems, I don't know, what do you think is going to happen on June 5th?
So I have a little plot twist. So today the unemployment rate came out.
Yeah.
And basically we stayed stagnant. We had 90,000 more new jobs.
Okay.
Majority were part-time though. and we're still remaining at 6.1%. And so so no math expert here, but what I was taught is if unemployment goes up, interest rates have to come down because you have to balance it. It makes sense, right?
Recession, right?
Yeah. If people don't have jobs, how are they going to be paying back high amounts of interest? But if unemployment's staying the same, are we going to have a rate cut? I don't think so. So most people are anticipating July. There's no, I mean, an economist can probably say there is a magic ball to reviewing this, but this is why it's important to review all the different factors that contribute to these interest rates and understand them and these reports, which is like so much.
Yeah, I also learned that it's really important that we kind of work hand in hand with the Federal Reserve. So the Bank of Canada's counterpart in the States. So if we lower our interest rates and they don't, that actually weakens our dollar. And since they are our largest trading partner, that could be really bad for the economy as a whole. And so we have to tread like really lightly. And their economy is doing way better than ours is. So they probably won't do, maybe they'll do like one rate cut, but we were like at the beginning of the year, they were saying 3, 4, some banks were even saying like 5 rate cuts, which I thought was too aggressive, but now it's looking more like 2. And anything more than 2 rate cuts will probably be really bad news that we're actually in a recession.
You know, I was laughing when you were talking about that. It reminded me of like, I've always wanted the Canadian dollar to be strong.
Yeah.
But it's because when I was younger, I would drive over to Buffalo and shop. So even young people should want the dollar to remain strong. I mean, all of us now, because like
even going on
affordability is like
right?
done.
Yeah, and even going on vacations, like if you go to like Jamaica or anywhere in the Caribbean, like you can use US dollars. And so when you go to exchange your currency, you're gonna be losing a lot of money when you do that exchange, right?
Yeah, and I think this is a very good segue into one of the things that we want to talk about, which is like a lack of affordability in Canada.
Yeah.
And so you're saying vacations, but some people just want to leave the country.
Yeah, I actually read a crazy stat. It said 47% of Canadians are living paycheck to paycheck. And I knew it was bad because just talking to people, like a lot of people are talking about getting second jobs. A lot of people already have a second job just to get by, just to pay their bill. Just because a lot of people's mortgage rates just like went through the roof. And so their mortgage payments are a big chunk of their salaries. And most people are working like a salary job. It's not like they have the ability to get overtime, to get commission, or whatever. They have a fixed income. And so it's sad that this is happening. Like a lot of people are coming to me and saying, Marissa, can you sell my house? I want to move to Florida. Somebody told me they're moving to Panama City because there's no taxes. And it's just like a lot of people are not only like moving, but even their investments, they want to sell their investments here because they're just kind of losing hope on the Canadian economy. They want to invest elsewhere.
So there's some facts to back that up. So there's this thing called the annual Can Trust Index. So it's basically ask Canadians what their level of trust is in basically everything. So political leaders, businesses, corporations, medias, banks, scientists. Okay.
Yeah.
Scientists because of COVID, you know? And so the 2024 edition came out and they said that the fear of economic pain, such as a recession or unemployment, appears to be driving higher levels of anxiety than COVID ever did.
Wow.
So more and more Canadians are losing hope and trust in the Canadian economy. And like, I think based on like Justin Trudeau's government, like it went down like 10 basis points, right, in terms of trust. But opposition leaders like NDP or Conservatives weren't any better. And to be honest, I feel the exact same way. I don't have faith in any of the government or of leaders involved to solve any of the crises we have, right? Because if you truly want to make a difference, like I think the housing plan that the Liberals have proposed is a start. But if you're going to execute it, one, I'm sure the Conservatives are going to come out and wipe half of them down.
That's what usually happens.
Exactly. And then you need a majority government that's at least 2 terms, because all of this is a result of not planning long-term well in advance. Yeah. And if you're like, okay, I'm going to stop immigration. Okay, I'm going to stop international students. Okay, I'm going to stop all these things. And you're like, block, block, block. It's still going to seep through because there's still people that can't afford things, right? Like, how expensive are things now, Marissa?
I know it's getting absolutely ridiculous. And I don't blame these people that are leaving. Like sometimes I think about it too. I'm like, are we doing this wrong? Like, should we just pick up and leave?
And I agree with you. So I don't know if you've heard about the Loblaws boycott.
No.
So basically what people are doing for the month of May is they're boycotting Loblaws or any affiliates of Loblaws and saying like, I'm not grocery shopping at this place because all these grocery stores are seeing like 10%, like record high profits. And then we're paying like back to my $16 grapes, right?
But like I swear I saw on the news earlier this year that didn't they have to go to like court for it and they were like sued?
That's probably taking a long time.
For prices to actually come down as a result. Oh, okay. Because I thought things were starting to get better.
No, they're not getting any better. They're still seeing record. And then I think something was leaked. And don't quote me on this. Is like my late night TikTok scrolling, right? So it had like prices of like the amount of money they make on each product. And it was like ridiculous, like a ridiculous amount. And I was looking and I was like, okay, well, why Loblaws? Like, you know, Sobeys is expensive, all these other things. But Loblaws is the largest retailer for groceries.
Yeah.
And they've taken over, you know, pharmaceuticals when they took over Shoppers Drug Mart. They're trying to privatize healthcare. They're bringing in like primary medical centers into all of their places. They're trying to be a one-stop shop, right? And so that's why people are trying to boycott this. But things are getting expensive and I'm on the same boat as you. I'm good to leave and go live where there's like a beach and I can like, you know, spend time with my kids, you know, because like it's just hustle, hustle, hustle all the time.
All day. Yeah. You sleep, wake up and work and then back to sleeping. Like that's all we do.
But I will say there's one thing that you need to know. If you're trying to leave Canada, you're going to have to pay a $25,000 tax.
No way. Really?
No. So on May 4th, some person tweeted that you have to, and like Justin Trudeau's government is just trying to tax you more and they're proposing this. And everyone bought it. It went viral. Okay?
No way. That's crazy.
So I was like looking into it. Now.
I wouldn't put it past him. That's why I was like, could this be true?
Well, 25,000, I charge like 500,000, you know?
Yeah.
Like, what's the purpose of the tax? And like, what are you getting out of it? Like, you're already taxing people on everything. So if they're selling their property, it's taxed. I mean, if it's not a primary residence.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really interesting. But I don't want to keep going into like the negatives on this podcast because I'm sure people complain every single day about their lives. If this is like the wealth blueprint, let's talk about some like potential opportunities that exist now.
Yeah, let's do that. So on our last podcast, we were talking about capital gains and how after June 25th, the inclusion rate goes from 50% to 2/3 on profits over 250K, right? And so if you kind of look at that, maybe you could skew it, or real estate agents can skew it to as an opportunity for corporations to sell before then, you know, because it would be a lot cheaper for them to sell before, like even just June 24th, it'll be cheaper than the next day, June 25th.
Yeah, hit up those corporations. I also see there's opportunity everywhere. So for example, if you have like a commercial property, right? Like back in the day, I'm talking about like Gerrard Street, you know?
Yeah.
And you have those commercial, like, you know, like Kim's Convenience. Do you ever watch that show? Yes. Yeah. And then, you know, they have like a house on top and they live there, right? We can build more houses in the sky based on what already exists.
Yeah.
And so I think the housing minister was talking about this as well and said Christina Freeland also is a big advocate of this, is building above. So for example, in the housing plan, they're proposing that you can get up to $40,000 at very low interest to build a second dwelling. So commercial unit owners should also do this, and then they can rent out the top if it doesn't already exist, right? Or look at ways to build in a way that creates multiple units, because that's what people need. Like I went to our Royal LePage Property Pulse networking last night, and one of the presenters was talking about Canadians don't want big houses anymore. They're downsizing. So if you see that potential, do it.
Yeah. And it's not even just commercial, even residential. As a homeowner, just to convert your basement into an apartment, the government will give you $40,000 as well to convert it. And it is a loan and there is interest, but I think I don't know the exact amount. Everything I read, it just says low interest. So I'm not sure what the exact rate is and what you need to do to qualify. But to convert your basement to a basement apartment, it's probably not too much more than $40,000, depending on what's already in place. Like if you already have a side entrance, you could do it easily with $40,000.
I think what someone said is you're paying for a kitchen and bathrooms.
Yeah. But it also depends, like, is your whole basement finished already? Do you need to cut the side entrance? That type of thing. That's where it can get a little pricey.
And legalized, of course.
Yeah. But then look, you're making income and that helps to support your mortgage payments, right?
Exactly.
People should be looking into this.
And definitely especially when I've done home searches, when someone sees that you have a finished space and separate entrance, it goes like cha-ching in their mind. Like I can rent it out. That's potential income and I can lower my mortgage. It's like house hacking, but in a different way.
Yeah, for sure. It increases the value of your property. There's so many more buyers that are looking for these properties that already have it so that as soon as they walk in, they can rent it out from day one. And also it increases their affordability when they go to the bank, just saying that there's a basement apartment. Now they're adding that income to that person's regular salary so they can afford more, right?
I said I wouldn't be negative, but one thing that I will say is I think City of Brampton had like a plan like this. But the problem is if you do get a loan from them, and don't quote me on it, this is just from memory, there was a certain set amount that you could only charge for rent forever.
Oh, so is that the caveat?
So there might be some sort of like, which makes sense, right? Because market rate is really unaffordable to most people. So if it's capped, like, in Ontario after November 15, 2018, if you have a property that was created after that, you could raise rent to whatever you want.
Yeah.
But I think this might have, it just wouldn't make sense to just give people loans to create more housing that more people couldn't afford.
But, okay, I disagree, because if you have a ton of people adding more supply, then that should actually bring down the prices. And we're already kind of seeing it this year. Rental rates actually have gone down. I think it's because they put out a stop on immigration. There's less demand. And so they've gone down by a couple $100 just from October. So I think if there's an increase in supply, it will naturally start to come down to normal levels. I mean, obviously, if you do it your way, it'll be a lot faster, a lot quicker, and probably better results. But they might not have to do something so drastic.
Okay, and I know I'm throwing a curveball, and we didn't talk about this, but we're going to take 1 minute because I really need to vent about this. I went to Kitchener for showings with my client. We walked into a house. There was 17 students.
Oh my goodness.
I have never felt first I was like, and I looked at my client and I was like, are we going to keep going?
Yeah.
And there was one student that was leading us to every room. So there was 4 mattresses in the living room. There was 5 mattresses in the master. There's 4 bedrooms or 3. And there's 3 or 4 beds in each. Sometimes these students, the guy would open the door and they were sleeping. And I was like, oh my God, such an invasion of privacy.
Yeah.
There was no railing for the staircase. And I will say we were a little traumatized.
I would be.
Yeah. We were just looking at each other. And after we were thinking I get it. People want to pinpoint international students and try to make them seem they're the ones coming in and taking up and lower. No, it's the government that let people in.
Yes,
and it's actually
horrible
landlords that take advantage of people like this. And it's disgusting.
Yeah.
And it's not right. So hopefully if your plan works out and there's fair rentals for people, that would be great. But I can say that Kitchener property is probably one in a lifetime. I don't even know what that agent was thinking showing that to people.
So they're selling this property?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So 17 people are going to get displaced.
17 people are going to get displaced. And where are they going to go? That's what I was thinking the car ride back because I had
Wow.
a long hour. And so as people get upset, and I know I have investor clients and they're it's very, very tenant focused. I think sometimes there has to be a balance, but sometimes people just straight up take advantage on both sides.
On both sides, yes.
But this was just disgusting.
Yeah. Someone can call and complain on them.
I know, but if you call and complain, somebody just loses their space, right? So
I
where are they
know.
going to find a space to live after that? Yeah.
But it's just interesting that they had the audacity to put that on the market.
And to let us come see it.
Yeah.
They're just someone showing you. I said I wouldn't be negative, and here I went being negative, but I really need to get that out. Me and my client were just she was messaging me at night and she's just I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. I'm me too. I'm but honestly, we live in the West End. I feel there's every other house is probably.
I was just about to say the same thing. This is not even just a one-off. Remember we were door knocking the other day and we door knocked and then we saw 4 beds in the living room.
And I was let's get out of here.
On that note, if you are looking for some help on how to navigate this market, things are going up, they're going down, we would love to sit down with you. You can book a consultation call with us using the description, using the link in the description below. It's about 20 minutes. It's free. And we would love to chat with you about what's going on in your personal circumstances and how we might be able to help.
Yes. And that's the end to the Wealth Blueprint, brick by brick. Stay tuned for the next episode. And again, continue to bear with us.